If your PC is loud, hot, and still somehow feels slow, your airflow is probably wrong, not your whole build. Fans are fighting each other, hot air has nowhere to go, and your expensive GPU is stuck in a glass front sauna. The fix is not always buying a giant new cooler. Most of the time, it is about case design and a clean airflow blueprint. In 2025, that blueprint is simple: mesh front, smart fan layout, and clean internals. Start with the case itself. Look at the front panel. If it is solid glass or thick plastic with just tiny side vents, your fans are pulling air through a straw. A good mesh case has a perforated or mesh front that lets cool air flood into the system instead of squeezing through gaps. When cool air can come in freely, every fan you already own becomes more effective without adding noise. Next, understand the basic airflow path. You want cool air to come in low and from the front, then move through your components and leave high and at the back. That means front and bottom fans should be intake, pulling fresh air into the case, while rear and top fans should be exhaust, pushing hot air out. If your fans are all pointed randomly, some will cancel each other and create hot pockets instead of a clean front to back flow. Now think about pressure. In a simple gaming build, slightly positive pressure works well most of the time. That means a bit more intake than exhaust, so the case is gently pushing air out of its cracks instead of sucking dust in. In practice, that might be 2 or 3 intake fans at the front and 1 or 2 exhaust fans at the rear and top. You do not have to obsess over the exact math. Just avoid the classic mistake of 1 lonely intake fan and 3 exhaust fans dragging dust and hot air in from everywhere. Cable management matters more than people like to admit. When you have thick bundles of cables sitting in the middle of the case, the airflow path you build on paper is destroyed in real life. Try to route cables behind the motherboard tray, use tie-down points, and keep the area in front of the GPU as open as possible. The more the center of the case looks like a tunnel, the easier it is for cool air to reach your graphics card and CPU cooler. Fan quality and speed control come next. You do not need the most expensive fans in the world, but you want reliable units with decent bearings and sensible RPM ranges. In your BIOS or fan control software, set curves that keep fans quiet at idle and during light work, then ramp up smoothly as CPU or GPU temperatures rise. A good curve means your PC can sit almost silent on the desktop, and then spin up only when you actually launch a game. Your CPU cooler choice feeds into the airflow plan as well. A tower air cooler that points toward the rear exhaust fan works beautifully in a mesh case, pulling air from the front and sending it straight through the fins and out the back. If you use an AEO, front or top mounting can both work, but don't choke the radiator against a solid front panel. Let those fans breathe fresh air too. Always think in terms of cool in, hot out in a straight path. Dust is your silent enemy. Even the best mesh case will fail if every filter is clogged. Every few weeks, power down the PC, pop the front panel and filters off, and gently clean them. Check the GPU heatsink and CPU cooler for thick dust mats that block the fins. Dust forces fans to work harder, temperatures to rise, and noise to increase. A simple cleanup can drop tone by several degrees and suddenly make your fan curve feel civilized again. Now, let's talk about GPU placement. Make sure your GPU has breathing room. If your card is hard up against the drive cage or the bottom of the case, there is no space for air to move around it. In some cases, simply shifting the drive to another bay or removing an unused cage can open a clear path for airflow. If your case supports it, using vertical GPU mounts or repositioning fans to blast fresh air directly along the length of the card can also help, as long as it does not choke the fans against glass. Measure success the right way. Don't just stare at peak FPS. Watch temperatures, average FPS, and frame time graphs. A good mesh airflow setup will usually give you lower and more stable tone, less fan noise, and smoother frame times even if the absolute FPS number only jumps a little. The real win is that your GPU and CPU are not slamming into thermal limits and downclocking every time a game gets busy. If you are building from scratch in 2025, plan the airflow on paper before you click buy. Choose a mesh case with good front intake options, space for your GPU length, and at least 3 to 4 fan positions you can actually populate. Budget for a decent set of fans along with the CPU cooler and parts. It is better to buy one GPU tier lower. And put the savings into a proper case and airflow than to cram a hot high-end card into a cheap oven. For existing builds, work through a simple checklist. First, test your current case by removing the front panel during a game and watching tong and noise. If everything instantly improves, airflow is your main problem. Second, verify fan directions and rearrange them into a front and bottom intake, rear and top exhaust layout. Third, clean dust, root cables, and open space in front of the GPU. Fourth, tune fan curves so the system is quiet when cool and assertive when hot. Once you have that mesh airflow blueprint in place, your PC feels different. Boot is calmer, idle is nearly silent, and under load the fans spin up in a controlled way instead of panicking. GPU and CPU temperatures drop, boost clocks hold longer, and your FPS stops bouncing just because the case turned into a furnace. Stability improves because power delivery components on the motherboard and GPU are cooled better too. The best part is that airflow upgrades often outlast individual GPUs and CPUs. You might replace the graphics card 2 or 3 times, but a good mesh case with a solid airflow plan can serve you for years across multiple builds. Treat it like a long-term investment, not a throwaway box. If your system is currently hot, loud, or unstable, do not assume you need to replace everything. Start with the case, fans, and airflow path. Build or rebuild around a mesh front, clean intake and exhaust, and a tidy interior. Then enjoy a quiet, cool, fast PC that finally behaves the way the spec sheet always promised. If this breakdown helped you see airflow as a real performance upgrade, follow and subscribe for more practical PC building blueprints.